Hello, welcome again to Talk Architecture Podcast. I'm your host, Naziati Muhammad Yaakob, and this is part two of my interview with AR Eleena Jamil, who is a top architect in Malaysia, and she happened to be female. And the topic happened to be leadership roles for women architects. A very good episode for mid-level young female architects or non-female architects to listen to in this time. And I would like to continue with our last discussion in part one of the first session with Eleena. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Nice to see you again.
Here we are again. So there is this thing called the architecture fraternity, um, or the construction industry, which have a lot of architects, engineers, and construction professionals. And there are some similarities that women architects have to go through, like their counterpart in engineering and construction. And it's all have to do with the idea that there is a glass ceiling or something that is stopping them from getting into a top position in their field or in what they want to do. Is it because, Eleena, is it because of the lack of vision that they have themselves, or they don't have the personality to, like break that glass ceiling? Or do you have any advice for mid-level women architects to be mindful of and to be aware so that they have a chance to get up in in and break that glass ceiling? It's always this metaphor of breaking something in order for you to get into another level, which seems very harsh, isn't it? It's like, is it that hard, or they have other options? They have other options to, go sideways, maybe create their own company. So I'm sure that you have your own stories, but in general, what is it that you feel, and maybe you could give your examples that how that they could be happier in the chosen vocation?
I think there are many great female architects in the country who are not given the opportunity to shine or to lead um, in the place where they work. And I think the important thing is to have a change of mindset, because there is a kind of an expectation of how a leader should act or should be in our field, that there is no room sometimes
No room?
no room for female architects to lead in a way, because there are certain expectations, and these expectations or standards are measured by mainly what a male leader is. I think there is a need to change the mindset.
Is society's mindset, or the
Society's mindset, or even male dominated industry, the male architects.
our industry is male dominated?
It is male dominated. I mean, in fact, finding a female-led studio is quite a rarity, and I, seeing people telling me that, oh, it's so difficult to find female architects to come and speak or to come to this event because there's so few of you guys and all that kind of thing. But the thing is, there are very little statistic about how many women are actually in leadership roles in Malaysia, which means that we don't really talk about it. And it's important that we talk about how little there are female architects in leadership roles in architecture in Malaysia, so that there is awareness that we need to, promote more female, encourage them, and also talk about the issues that are faced by female architects trying to be leaders in breaking the glass ceiling, whatever. I think the glass ceiling is created by people who are in power, people who are actually leading this male-dominated industry. So
Something that the institution could look into?
yes, definitely. So I think institutions and things like PAM, Persatuan Arkitek Malaysia, Lembaga Arkitek Malaysia, they could do more. I know they're doing some work with creating awareness, having forums where female architects come together and talk. But there could be more research into how many female architects are how well female architects are doing in architecture, and research into some of the problems that they may face or they are facing in their line of work. So all these things, I think Pam and Lam could do more
Mm.
to create more awareness. And I think we need, the more we talk about it, I think it becomes more normal
Mm.
for female architects to be to crash this male dominated industry,
Yeah, the
because now it does
conversation.
feel like a rarity.
So having the conversation, the dialogue out there,
Mm.
and doing, I mean, forums are good, but are they documented? Are they published?
Yeah.
What is I mean, RIBA does all this research on this issue, and they document it themselves. So similarly, Pertubuhan Arkitek Malaysia need to do this research as well and document it. And that is the question that need you said it very well. How well are female architects doing in the architectural industry? Um, I I was noticing I was working in a big company, and I was noticing that quite a number were quite a number of female architect, and usually it's the age of 34 or that age where they're starting out on a family. They decided to quit.
Yeah.
Um, and then I see a few stayed on and not, and it's like the statistics are very much, becoming less and less female architects staying on at a certain level. That's mid-level, and there is more jobs. There is more leadership roles needed at that stage. Is there any advice or anything that you could
Um,
provide? Just say Pam or an institution want you to comment on something that is seriously needing to be done, because this is the company can do whatever they like, right? Is I mean, but why are these women, and this is my observation, whether you agree or not, but why are these women thinking it's not going to be reconciled, the fact that I'm going to have a family and an architecture career together?
I think it all comes down to the fact that there is this culture of working long hours,
Yeah.
that you have to be seen to slog
See,
or burning the midnight oil to get projects completed, to get your
to be
drawings out.
seen, that's the
To
thing.
be seen. Yes, that's exactly like, I feel when I was working for bigger firms, I feel that I need to show my dedication, my diligence by putting in the extra hours, coming in at weekends. But I don't think they were efficient in producing better quality work, in my opinion.
No.
So this idea of employees or having to put in the extra hours, and that is a huge toll, takes a huge toll on female architects, especially those at the age or where when you're in your 30s, you start having family, you have children to take care of, and then you think, okay, I can't win in this. I mean, I can't continue working like this. And then the option is to actually leave the profession and try to come back later when the children are a little bit older. And sometimes you don't.
And as I understand it, you as an employer, you set out a policy that we leave at 6 p.m. every day. And because you prioritize yourself and your employee who have children, quality family time. And why is that not seen by the architect industry? I mean, I'm sure there are male architects or male employers who know this is important, but why is there some form of culture that you need to be working extra hours? Or is it taking in, I mean, I'm getting serious here. Is it taking in more than you can chew and your employees having to
Mm.
take that setback or that extra work? And what do you, am I helping out in this conversation in ways saying that the managing or the supervision of the employee, you want to supervise your employees to get your money's worth, is not somehow done in the right way, may I ask? What's your opinion on this?
I think there are two things. One is culturally. I think it starts from university stage. When you are at university,
University.
you work late. You sleep in the studio, and that kind of trickles down to when you work. That's one thing. And also the other thing, I think it's probably a separate issue, but the thing with fees, our fees are small. We can't afford to take too many employees, and then you have you put too much work onto your employees' table, and the only way to get things done is to work overtime. That's also an issue. So I think both of that aspects, this culture of working late, starting from from the time you're studying architecture, and then this problem about small fees, or maybe sometimes you don't take in enough people to work on projects, and all that just create this unhealthy environment in an
Unhealthy.
office, which is very difficult for women, especially because they have multiple roles in life.
Yeah, that's the thing about for women architects, the multiple roles in life. So they're a caregiver to maybe elderly parents or the caregiver to the children. I mean, our society needs to have more understanding of caregivers coming from both parents. So, but there are instances where the male or the husband is giving the care as more. And so unhealthy practices of such where um, the working long hours. I would like to get back to another point of working long hours. Now, why do from 6 to 10, for example? Okay, usually it could be an exception if there was a rushed project, but it shouldn't be like every day you need to work after. I mean, what are you doing? You're checking your AI generated image for the to be presented the next
Yeah,
day, or is
yeah.
it you're looking through your over your tender documents? Why is it 6 to 10? There's usually the common things that people have to do, so that they need that extra hours done. Can you be more specific as a practitioner? Thank you.
Um, I mean, I think when you know that you only have 8 hours a day to work
Yeah.
on a specific task, you plan it in a way that you could complete that at the end of the day, or say at the end of the week. And I think when you know that you have to come in after hours, then you become, I think, less efficient in how you manage your time. That is my
Oh,
opinion.
you already know your culture in the beginning. Oh,
Yeah,
come and become an architect in this company. It's expected that you work extra hours, and okay, that's how I'm gonna pan out, how I'm gonna plan out, how I'm gonna because to be going out the door at 6 and people looking at you, why
exactly.
it's
Yes,
not
that
a
happened
great,
to me. Yeah, that happened to me. It's like
yeah, that is not a good
everybody
feeling,
staring at me because I had to leave at 6 to pick up my son from the nursery.
and you have to feel bad about that.
Yes, yes, and I feel bad.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
feel that I'm not showing my dedication to my work. And
Mm,
it shouldn't be like that at all. It
no,
should not be
unfair, right?
unfair.
You know, okay, you've talked so much and you've given so much input on this this topic, and I'm sure that we will get more questions out to the others. And this is a very good session where you've had given your your best in giving your views here. No holds barred or something like that. And in that's the way the situation is. Do we just deal with the situation of a male dominated architecture industry? But this is not fair to all male, because not all males are gonna like don't prioritize work-life balance, but it's a culture. You're talking about culture from the university, and culture in architecture practice, which has its problems and issues. And I think it stemmed from culture more than anything else, I think. Because I asked you that question, what do you do from 6 to 10? And it's a cultural thing, the way you answered it.
Yeah. Even if you don't have a family as a single person, to expect someone to work more than 8 hours on something, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, everybody need proper rest, need to get away, to think about things, and then come back the next day fresh. So
We all went through it. I went through it too, feeling guilty to go back early. I've done that. I had that share as well. Mm. So we've come to like towards the end of our part two session on this topic of leadership roles for women architects. So we're going back to the questions earlier we asked on some of the issues that need to be addressed on this topic. From the best attributes a woman bring to the role of an architect, and it is what it is. There are two genders, and there is an architecture profession, and there is a preconception that the architecture profession is best done by the male gender from God knows when, Michelangelo and Renaissance, and and only when a few female architects were more famous. These are Western role models that I'm quoting, as Hadid, or even my
yeah.
friend who is who worked hard in the field. She said, "I got to be a man. I got to be like a man when I'm working in this industry." With that note, how would you like to conclude this session? And we can see where this go. And I could ask you another
Um,
question, but go ahead.
yeah, I think female architects has a lot to contribute, and we offer a different perspective about occupying space, about how we see space, and to have that diversity of input from both male, female, different races, all this diversity, diverse opinions or diverse ways of seeing things, I think is important in advancing architecture. To say that a male architect is better than a female architect is completely wrong. And there is this perception because people have idolized as male architects and have kind of turned a blind eye on the contributions of female architects throughout history, which is a horrible thing. Which is why there is this perception that male architects are better, but it is. I do not believe that at all. I think there are lots of amazing female architects who have done amazing projects, but not getting the recognition that they deserve. Um,
Can you
so I
name
think
a few?
this has to change.
Can you name some?
I mean, you've named a few names, like a few international names like Denise Scott Brown,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and I'm sure there are a lot of unknown female
The
architects.
wife of Robert Venturi.
Yes, exactly.
That's why they don't say her on her own right, her name.
I'm sure there
Um,
are lots of many female architects who alongside worked with their partner or husbands who has not received the credit for working on amazing designs. And I think this is now slowly changing, of course.
you think it's slowly changing?
Yeah, I think so.
And you
There
see
is more awareness,
awareness.
yeah, that, the work of architecture is not the work of a single person, but the work of a team. And most likely that team would have a female or a team of women architects working on it.
Yes. And, managing a team and getting it from zero to a final product. It's not a mean feat. I mean, it's like that is something that maybe there's even the qualities of a female person that is the attribute to getting people to work together.
Exactly.
The collaboration and the cooperation between others, the communication, the better communication, and a little bit of extra careful looking over and checking over what's needed to be done every day in, day out.
Mm.
So, which is, I guess, I'm not saying anything, but the eldest daughter is different than the eldest son. You know what I mean? In terms of a family, uh,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you have to parent your parents
Yeah. Yeah.
for the
Mm.
eldest daughter. Um, so it is cultural thing, and it is something that is more and more we're being aware of, and the awareness is very good indeed. Anything else would you like to add before we conclude our session
Um,
for today?
Not really. I mean, just perhaps some parting words to the
Okay.
level architects that you are in contact with, and all I would say is persevere. It is not you who is not a good architect, but it is the people around you who are not aware that you have the potential to be a leader, to be an amazing architect.
With that, thank you very much, Architect Eleena Jamil, and all the best to you in your work. And we will be following you on social media and visiting your work, hopefully in the future. Thank you so much for your precious and valuable time and input in this session.
Thank you, Naziati.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure.
Take care.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.